Hello again, everyone. John Flynn here from Flynn Real Estate, serving Southern Ontario, based out of the Niagara region. Thank you all once again for tuning in. This week, on Friday, actually, or last week, our internet was down. My daughter said, what are we going to do, Dad? We have no internet, right? The world's going to end. So I said, maybe we can play a board game or watch a movie. So she said, let's play a board game. So I said, go choose one. She chose Monopoly. And I said, let's make this a little more interesting. Let's make it more like real life, being my sarcastic self. So they said, okay, what do you suggest? So I said, half the players are going to start with some properties and with some homes on them, and the other half are going to start like normal with nothing. So here's the board. Half the players, or 2 out of the 4 players, had a set of streets with 2 homes on each and either the railroads or the utility companies, and the other half had nothing. So after about 10 minutes, this game progressed as expected. The haves got more properties and the have-nots really had nothing at that point. So taking a look at the board here, and again, this is only after 10, maybe 15 minutes, the family members that started off with that street of properties, of course, they bought more houses. It just so happened the kids were actually the have-nots. We didn't plan it like that. We rolled dices. So, of course, we knew how the game was going to progress. Well, at least I did, and most likely my wife. And the kids started getting a little upset. You can see them. So, of course, we figured at the end we were just going to own everything, and they were going to have to pay us the rent, and they were going to go bankrupt, and they'd be out of the game. Well, that didn't happen. It was probably more like a real life scenario. The have-nots turned to civil disobedience and crime, ended up robbing the bank of all the money, and it all went to hell after that. So it was a pretty interesting and I would say successful experiment, seeing how things turned out as if they were living in the real world right now. Well, they are. They already have concerns about buying homes when they're old. But again, as I always say, if house prices were to maintain at this level or wages didn't increase to match them, civil disobedience and crime would definitely skyrocket. And of course, we're seeing some of that already, but I'm talking significantly more. Anyway, let's move on. I want to kind of talk about the market sentiment this week. We're almost at the end of the month, so I'm not going to get into a bunch of data. I want to talk about the market and the attitudes out there. And I'm not really seeing too many optimistic views these days. Actually, I can't find any, whether it's in the media or on social media, that are still, pitching this idea that prices will only go up and now is the best time to buy and all this. Everybody seems like they're kind of accepting the reality of the situation and accepting that, prices are not going to keep going up with these interest rates. And of course, inventory is coming online now, which was the big argument saying, well, there's not enough inventory. Now prices will keep going up. Well, the inventory's coming online, sales are down and whatnot. So let's just take a look at some of the articles and the things I've seen in the last week or so to kind of back that theory up. From InSaga, significantly more homes for sale in Mississauga and Brampton than earlier in the year report. And that was from September 25th. I'm not going to get into the details of that. It is what it is in the title. From CMP, I believe this is a Canadian mortgage professional. Anyway, correct me in the comments if that's not it. But they're saying GTA new home sales activity hovers near record lows. August activity at more than 60% below the region's 10-year average sales level. And this was from the 22nd of September. The Greater Toronto Area housing market saw its second lowest August for new home sales since 2000, according to Altus Group and the Building Industry and Land Development Association. And of course, new home sales are taking the hit too. And Remax, in their latest report on September 5th, Canadian housing market softening this fall due to inventory, interest rates. And if you want to read these entire articles, they are all linked in the description. And from BNN Bloomberg, this was actually at the end of August, Canada likely sitting on the largest housing bubble of all time, strategist. The Canadian housing market is at risk of unraveling, according to one expert. The level of debt that Canadians have taken on in comparison to their incomes has put many in a precarious position should mortgage rates continue to rise, which is likely. Phil Colmar, partner at Global Strategist at MRB Partners. Hey, I like that they actually named the expert. A lot of people talk about experts and usually politicians, but they don't actually name who these experts are. Canada is probably sitting on the largest housing bubble of all time, he warned. Colmar argued that the inflated home prices in Canada are a result of 2 decades worth of easy money supplied by the Bank of Canada's monetary policy for numerous reasons. The worst part for a housing bubble is when you have a credit bubble underneath it, Colmar warned. The amount of Canadian leverage into the system versus incomes is pretty astronomical, and we've seen debt servicing going up dramatically. So that article is a little dose of reality. And from RBC on September 7th, special housing reports, housing market tensions continue to ease across most of Canada. And they kind of break it down by the major regions here. So this is interesting. We think the fall season may look a lot like August, with buyers staying on the defensive in many parts of Canada, despite more choice becoming available to them. High interest rates, ongoing affordability issues, and a looming recession are poised to pose major obstacles. Any material acceleration in the recovery will have to wait until interest rates come down in 2024. So when interest rates finally do come down, it's going to be because we're in trouble. Just like every other time interest rates go up and they come back down, there's always a crisis or a recession or something. Breaking it down by the areas here. Toronto area, quiet summer. The action got even slower in August, with home resales slipping a further 1% month over month. Montreal area, prices still get modest but uneven support. A growing supply of homes for sale continues to boost transaction flows in the area. New listings increase sequentially for the fourth time in the last 5 months in August. Vancouver area, cautious mood dampens activity. The spring rally has run its course and a more cautious mood has taken the market over. Buyers have pulled back this summer. Especially in August, we estimate resales fell more than 6% month over month. And lastly, Calgary, Canada's hottest market. The story is still one of strength for the Calgary market. We estimate August home resales were up a further 10% month over month. So with the exception of Calgary, most places are seeing slowing sales and increasing inventory, which is, again, a perfect setup for lower prices, especially coming into the winter months. And lastly, just a few of the people I follow on Twitter to show what they're saying in the last week or so about the market, which is pretty interesting because these guys like to call it how it is. Not everybody likes everything they say, but let's just go over a few of them here. So my buddy Robert Marsiglio from the Durham region says, in September 2022, TREB reported the fewest resale home sales for a September going back to 2001. Despite new listings activity being up roughly 50% year over year through the first 21 days of the month, sales numbers are lagging last year's. So Robert does great weekly updates on the GTA for all areas for, week to week stats. So if you're looking for that information, give him a follow on Twitter. Always has some great information. Next, we have Daniel. GTA headed for a buyer's market soon, if not already. I don't know how to say your last name. I know that you're on TV and stuff, but I don't watch TV, so I wasn't going to say it wrong. But anyway, he is claiming, and it's based on the data below there. And of course, we've seen it in my data last month, where a lot of areas in Toronto are already in buyer's markets. And lastly, from the West Coast, Steve Soretsky, a big name out there. Housing market conditions have shifted once again, tipping us into a buyer's market. If you're moving, sell first, buy second. So to reiterate, many people, especially people in the industry, are saying we've shifted or shifting into a buyer's market. Sales are down, listings are up, and prices are going to follow. Anyway, that's all for this week, and I'll see you next time.